All right.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Now go home and get your fucking shine box.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Go Get Your Shine Box. We were yucking it up a little before we kicked the show on, so
Yes, Big Brown Beaver is not the answer.
Jack, I'd like to buy a vowel.
Aloha from Central New Jersey.
It is.
And good evening from the outer darkness. We're going to start off with a little fun trivia question again. And this question comes to us from our friends in Georgia. In the state of Georgia, it is illegal to eat what with a fork?
Does it start with a P?
Ends with the Uzi?
Before these guys take us into X-rated territory, I'm going to give you the answer. It's fried chicken.
Fried chicken.
Fried chicken.
It's unethical to eat chicken with a fork, I guess.
And it makes sense.
Oh, it's embarrassing. That's like eating pizza with a fork.
A lot of fried chicken loving mofos down there in Georgia.
Yeah, I just don't get. Sometimes the stuff, you got to get your hands dirty. You know what I mean? It's finger looking good. So we're still talking about chicken, right?
I thought Winona had maybe entered the chat, but I don't.
With a pink hat on. Right. So we got, we're laughing, we're kind of yucking it up. It's been a long day, but the fact of the matter is we got some serious stuff to talk about tonight. East Palestine, Ohio. I mean, that sounds ominous enough, but we're gonna get into that derailment a little bit. We'll have some words of wisdom, and then we're gonna punch down on a couple of not so random topics, but a little bit of different format.
Excuse me, but I will not stand for any of this anti-Semitism. It's East Palestine.
You see, it's actually since I lived in that area for quite a while. It's actually East Palestine. That's the way it's pronounced by the locals. So.
Oh well, you had to go and just do that on the air and make me look bad. Now.
Well, and it's funny because there's another town up in I can't remember what it was, but they totally mispronounced that as well. So why is the media calling it Palestine, just to avoid the JQ, shall we say? You would have to ask Dave Chappelle that question. And there's a lot of them out there. I really don't want to get into that because we can't afford to be demonetized, and that's kind of an oxymoron statement.
And if anybody can demonetize us, you know who it is.
The platform.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a little something new, and we're doing some trivia, and I think we'll throw out a little the weekly wise guy words of wisdom as well. A little something from Albert Einstein, and he said this at one time: "Wisdom is not a product of schooling, but of the lifelong attempt to acquire it," which I find rather intriguing. And in fact, I was going to save that for an intro, and maybe we'll do it again on an upcoming topic about education and those types of things.
Yeah, and that's a powerful thing to mull on. And here's a couple of problems in the modern world. Starting at some point, maybe with the hippies, maybe sooner or earlier than that, it became cool to, blow off, old fogies don't know anything. Well, generally, knowledge and wisdom are passed down by the old fogies. So
ever since Greece.
Yeah, if you can screw that up, then you're going a long way to dismantling the family structure, basically.
Which is a motive. Yeah, that's an MO.
That's part of it. And, granted, the boomers were around to take advantage of some, say, questionable ethics. So they get, blamed for a lot of stuff. But I think the anti-boomer thing is certainly a deep state psyop to destroy.
I hate to cut you off, but this is a timely matter. Okay.
Well, that's okay. We do that around here.
No, I mean, as we were talking, I kid you not. You know my production studio. I've got the equipment. I got the tech. Up on the screen came a handling style shirt
Really?
for an advertisement, and on the shirt it says, "Don't piss off old people." And then under that it says, "The older we get, the less life in prison is the less life." Yeah, it's kind of vague. The less life in prison is the less life in prison is a deterrent.
Yeah.
So whoever wrote the shirt was clever, but they didn't know how to use punctuation. That's
and on top of that, somebody's listening.
Somebody is definitely listening because I'm seeing a fork. And is that chicken? No. Anyway, to get a little more serious.
No.
Anyway, my ultimate point to the younger folks, try to withstand the peer pressure and societal pressure to denigrate your parents, your elders. Instead of recreating the wheel, try to learn from them who have life experience.
Yeah, if we keep going down this rabbit hole, I'm gonna spit out my theory on millennials and the wheel. But anyway, speaking of wheels, horrible headline that I'm gonna read: Ohio train derailments, toxic fallout compared to nuclear winter. We nuke this town with chemicals. And of course, everybody, if you don't know what we're talking about, then you don't know what we're talking about. It's absolutely insane by this time, because this has been going on forever. And it's kind of hard to keep track of all the UFOs being shot down. Well, we have a little tiny town that borders Pennsylvania right outside of Pittsburgh. That's literally a dark zone.
Were you talking about the weather balloon that they shot down in Canada?
Or whatever that was, but
they shot a bunch of stuff down.
They shot a weather balloon down that the University of Alaska sent up to monitor the weather over the North Pole for air traffic.
Okay.
I mean, come on, it's
that's
ridiculous.
the one. That's the one in Lake Huron. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, whatever.
Anyway,
So.
and that was a distraction from. Oh, by the way, the Biden regime are international terrorist organization.
It's all a distraction, or it's a distraction from the former Ohio fire chief described the Ohio train derailment fallout as toxic chemicals as a nuclear winter. I mean, it's nobody's mainstream media isn't there. EPA wants nothing to do with it.
We're seeing pictures that people are taking with their phones. It's disgusting. The black plume of smoke that's being dispersed into the air. I mean, it's traveling thousands of miles. It's sick.
Yeah, the take this grain of salt, but I was listening to a guy. I was listening to a guy, and I forget what his credentials were, but he was a credentialed guy, and he said the airborne stuff is the lesser of the problem. Because that'll disperse, the winds will blow it around.
It's the watershed issue, yeah.
The watershed thing is the problem. By the way, CNN says the stay-away order was lifted 5 days after the derailment, and water sample led officials to deem the area safe.
We should force that water down those officials' throats. What do you think?
Yes.
Well, the DeWine said when he was asked if he'd go back, he said, "Well, I drink bottled water."
Yeah,
I heard that.
I mean, I don't know why he didn't come out and just say hell no. But it's an interesting town too. I've actually been there. It's an interesting town. It's an old, like every other town around Pittsburgh, old defunct, steel city.
Right.
And these people aren't. They're the salt of the earth, but they're not the rich. That's for sure.
No. But you know what? Here's the thing. This is not it's their problem because they live there. but they need to be relocated immediately.
Well, it's not.
Somebody better reach in their pockets and pull out the
Joe.
money and do this.
FEMA's not going to do anything about it. I mean, I seriously doubt it. Here's a sad take on this. This isn't. This is a real disaster. Okay, this is a real disaster. The climate cultists can't make any money off a real disaster. In other words, if you can't turn this into me buying more solar panels from China, I'm not interested.
Yeah, you notice not one of them is even saying a peep about this.
No, they've made it perfectly clear. The media's made it perfectly clear. The potato in the White House has made it perfectly clear. He's so inept. That mutt is so inept at his job. He can't even use the balloon distraction as a distraction. He's just. I think they're putting him in containment anyway because he's a liability. But,
yeah. By the way, here's sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Here's a list of the chemicals.
Oh, that's funny. I was just going to do that. Go ahead.
Okay. Vinyl chloride.
Yep.
Ethylene glycol monobutyl ether, which I don't know what it is, but ethylene glycol is antifreeze. So
you motorheads know.
Toxic.
I know what ether is. Hey, miss, could you smell this rag? Does this smell like ether?
Ethyl hexylacrylate, isobutylene, and butyl acrylate. Now, I don't know specifically, I'm not a chemist, but I recognized at least some parts of these chemicals.
Yeah.
And
not good.
I used to mess around with fuels back when I was racing. And I don't know if you recall, Formula One had to change their fuel regs because people were going to be starting to die of cancer and shit. Remember that?
Yeah. I remember.
And I was like, "Ooh, really? I got to get some of that stuff." You know? And then I would read the thing, and it's like, "Yeah, man, you don't want to freaking touch this, breathe this, nothing. It'll kill you." You know. Then I was like, "Yeah, all right, maybe not." You know.
Well, if you win, you know.
And you want to hear something funny? The experts, and who are the health experts in these United States? They are in charge of all of our health. They have our diseases and so forth in mind, keeping us safe. That is the CDC.
Right.
Just a few weeks before this train wreck, they updated their vinyl chloride warning.
They downgraded
it for the first time in like 20 years or 15 years, whatever it was. You know. Ain't that? It's a coincidence, but
that's so strange that would happen. That doesn't make you think of anything that
but I don't want to make a direct link because I really don't want to make this direct link to poisonous gas in trains.
Yeah, I don't want to make this direct link to Bhopal, India. I've been calling this Bhopal 2.0.
Here's another headline.
So it's almost like they made a movie about this happening.
Yes, that too. Yeah.
They did. They did make a movie of this happening. Oh, it's interesting how they made a movie of what's exactly happening right now. They made a movie about a while ago, not that long ago.
Yeah, they released it on Netflix.
I don't have Netflix, so I didn't see it. But there was also another movie with Denzel Washington and the young actor who played in the they redid Star Trek some years back. He was the new Captain Kirk, you know.
Oh yeah.
That guy, and they were in a runaway train that had chemicals on there, and it was going to destroy some community. So that was a little bit longer back, but I gave up Netflix after they put children doing sexy shit on there.
I missed that. No, I didn't see that. But anyway, here's another headline. This is from Vox, of all people. The East Palestine, Ohio train wreck didn't have to be this bad, and they go into a little detail in the 2 weeks since the 38 train cars carrying hazardous chemicals, including what we just mentioned, derailed in Ohio. There remain frustratingly few answers about exactly what happened. Right now, the town's 4,700 people. So that gives you an idea how big the town is. It's just a tiny little place. They've been told to return to their homes. However, residents are still wary, reporting sightings of dead fish in streams, dead chickens, and so on. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but we were told, and I forget her name because I'm so well prepared tonight. She said, "Well, yeah, some fish died, but there's no furry, cuddly creatures. It's just fish." And this is when I talked about ineptitude in potatoes. The fish are in the water in the stream that shoots down to the Ohio. This is the water source for the people that live there. And she has no freaking clue. These people are so isolated in their own narcissistic egos that they don't even realize what's going on here. They could give two rats' asses about these 4,700 people.
Yeah, these people are just panicking. Ohio Health Director Dr. Bruce Vanderhoff said, in terms of some of the symptoms, headache, etc., unfortunately, volatile organic compounds share the ability to cause very common symptoms: headache, eye irritation, nose irritation.
What we know is the
vomiting.
VOCs.
Yeah. I think we need to look at the facts, and the facts are the air sampling in that area really is not pointing to, a problem for this.
That piece of crap said on air, "Hey, every time you go pump gas, you get VOCs. So what do you want from us? It's just out there. These are, this is organic. It's organic."
They ought to take him and drop him right in the mix. Here, shove it down his throat. Make him eat it.
He should have to eat the dead chickens and drink the water to wash it down.
Yes.
Because it's healthy. It's VOC. It's organic. These people make me sick.
It's disgusting.
Yeah. For my own part, if I lived, anywhere near that town, I'd be gone. I'd be so far away.
You know what? I thought about that.
Oh shit. Paul's here.
I was walking in my place today, and I'm thinking almost the same thing. And then I was trying to put myself in their situation, like, where am I going to go? These people are living from paycheck to paycheck.
Well, you got a place to go. I got a place to go.
Well, you know what I mean. It's a philosophical question. Like, where do you
go? These people, you're right. A lot of those people, that's it. That's home. That is it.
Yeah, I know. But this is your family. Get a damn tent and go 100 miles upwind and find a campground.
And right now, or I should say this afternoon, Pennsylvania weather was unseasonably warm in the 70s, and wind was picking up, which is exactly what you don't need. You rather have a stagnant, poisonous cloud than one.
Did you tell me it was heading towards Pittsburgh?
I don't know which way the wind was blowing.
It's blowing. I checked the flag. It's westward, so it's heading towards us, dude. It's heading right for New Jersey. New Jersey.
We're eastward.
No, west wind from the west, man. The wind's coming from the west like it normally does.
Okay.
So it's wind and poisonous clouds bad. We'll just put that out there. So
yes,
who knows? That could be a T-shirt. But I don't know. I'm not going to beat this. Anybody want to beat this dead horse? I mean, I think it's disgusting. I'm gonna get mad on the air reading about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I did hear something mentioned. I don't know if it was a local doctor or first responder recommending all the township residents get baseline medical screening. So, 10 years from now, the lawyers can't say, yeah, you might have had that going on already, Oh,
jeez. Hey, one thing I'd like to throw in here. I mean, there's been other train wrecks within the last couple of days, like stacked on top of this. You think any of these you think there's any sabotage could be involved here?
Well, dude, I just don't know. The fact of the matter is we have very little facts and nobody wants to release anything. The government has footage, according to their surveillance of trains. I think that's part of the Fed regulation. They won't release it. And that's just this one. This is a bad one. What about like you said, the other three that just happen to happen all in the same day or two? Nobody wants to tell you what it is.
All of a sudden, trains are flying off tracks. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I heard, and I know, Paul, and you probably did about
in the cockpit.
Well,
shunts and different things like that could be used, but we don't know that for a fact. We have no clue. So all we can do is guess.
Well, I do know this, that I've followed Antifa accounts before that have posted videos of how to place a shunt to derail a train. So we know that they do this, but there's a lot of derailments, and there's going to be a lot of reasons. But overall, about the infrastructure and food security and all that's going on, there's something interesting that I can just breeze through if you don't mind, Jim.
No, go ahead, go for it.
Okay, this is largely taken from an article by a guy named Jack Murphy. He's ex-ranger, investigative journalist, novelist, whatever. And he says the CIA is using a European NATO allies spy service to conduct a covert sabotage campaign inside Russia under the agency's direction, according to former U.S. intelligence and military officials. So basically, we've got our CIA set up sleeper cells inside Russia, and we've seen some of these things, ammo depots blown up, bridges blown up like the Kursk. And
this is a version of the Americans.
This is, right, something like that. So not necessarily our guys doing it, but we're coordinating it.
We pay well.
Using their people. Yeah, we pay, and we're footing the bill almost certainly. So my question upon reading through this and hearing people talk about it is, well, of course, belligerent states, towards the United States would be doing the same thing to us, especially if they're involved in a war. Now, make no mistake, we are at war with Russia. That is a simple fact, whether people want to accept it or not. So why wouldn't they have people on the ground? We're a very open society. Why wouldn't they have cells here to, cause a ruckus? You know what I mean?
Of course, they could just walk through. They don't even. They could just walk over the border. They, it's like we're open borders.
They don't even have to do that. They could come here on a guest visa and overstay or whatever. And they could have been here for 20 years. They could have been here. They could have a family here since Soviet days. Who knows what? You know what I mean? Yeah. But I just thought it was sort of an interesting counterpoint to what's going on here versus what's going on there. If there's some sort of, retribution involved for what we're doing to them. Who knows?
In its supposition, but I was reading another article today, and somebody was talking about how Putin is taking a stance. And actually, we have a little portion of his deployments. And my quick response was, gee, Putin's taking a warlike posture? I wonder why that could be.
Let's see. We're trying to dismantle his country.
Systematically, piece by piece. It's a little... It's a little odd.
It didn't have to be this way.
Listen, it's been this way for a lot longer than we know. I mean, let's look at the CIA, for example. The CIA, they're not a good organization. You look at the papers and the documents that have just been released, more documents about the Kennedy assassination. Clearly, and nobody's talking about this, but it's pretty clear that the CIA killed Kennedy, and nobody's talking about it. And there's nothing. It's just like, okay, it's like it happened too long ago. It doesn't even matter. But our own government has not our government, our deep state, the one who really controls our government. They're bad people, and they've been bad people for a long time, and it's not going to get any better.
Yeah, I was thinking more recently, like as of last year, as as of what was it, November, December of 21, before the invasion,
Yeah.
Putin was trying to be friends with us.
Oh, well, sure, yeah. He was trying to be. Look, he was on good terms when Trump was in office. You know, there was peace everywhere when Trump was in office.
Russia. Yeah.
You know, right? You know, even with the Russia. Yeah, this man, like it falls back to
the Ukraine fiasco was the what's his name, the president out there, Mr. T-shirt. He was a puppet, and he was pliable, and during the right on the verge of incurrence, I don't know why I'm slipping today, and I'm just drinking water. Mr. Messy Hair from the UK, the disgraced prime minister.
Oh, Boris.
Boris.
No, Boris Johnson.
No. Yeah. Johnson, right?
Yeah, he convinced Mr. Ukraine to, in fact, don't sit down with Putin. Nobody hid this.
Yeah, that was in April, I think, or March or April, shortly after the invasion.
Yeah, there was all but a peace deal, and I'm sure he was instructed by our illustrious warmongers, including people like John Bolton
and Victoria Nuland and
that's
Samantha Power. These are, you notice a lot of these really horrific types are women, and that's no mistake.
Yeah, and it's because a lot of them have a vicious streak. And dare I say, a lot of them are old, and their wombs are dried up tumbleweeds, and they've dedicated their entire lives to.
Where did I hear that?
Right here, you heard it. They're looking to get some kind of a satisfaction from a career rather than a family. And I'm not trying to be sexist here or anything like that, but that's not the natural order. No. And people hate what when you say the natural order. Well, it's a fact. And that's what happens. And then now these people are spending, like Chelsea, what's her name? Chelsea the loser, who's spending her 10th Valentine's Day in a row by herself, wondering, why a man won't look at her twice. Well, I don't know. Maybe you run your mouth a little too much, but who am I to say? I'm not like I'm a relationship expert. But so that being said,
although you've had your share.
That being said,
but we know what's right. We know what's right and wrong, what's normal and abnormal. We know these things.
There's some kind of vicious vitriol that gets in them, and they get this taste of power. And I'm not saying men don't do it either, but I think when women get a hold of it, it's hyperbolic, and unfortunately it ends badly. Woman.
That's funny you mentioned that.
So, but let's talk about Samantha Power for a second.
All right. Before we get to that, going back to Joe's point about the CIA and JFK.
We're picking on the CIA. I'm tired of it.
Did you know when in LBJ's last days, they sent a psychiatrist to be with him to make sure he didn't shoot off his mouth about like
important stuff.
By the way, you want to really know what happened? That kind of thing. And the guy was apparently paid off to not ever say anything about what was said between them and that sort of thing.
I wonder if anybody's hanging out with Joe Biden right now.
Kind of interesting.
Yeah. Probably.
Because that guy says
now,
stuff.
What did we want to go to? Oh, we wanted to go to Samantha Power.
Well, I didn't necessarily want to, but I think I'm going to play a clip. I'm going to give you a little background. And this is straight up. This is not bias. This is a Wikipedia kind of bio thing, just for people to get to know who she is a little bit. And you can make up your own mind. And Paul, you probably have a little influence on that part of the conversation. But she was born in 1970, same month as me. An American journalist, diplomat, and government official who's currently serving as the administrator of United States Agency for International Development, which is the acronym USAID. Yeah. So she began her career as a war correspondent covering Yugoslavia before entering academic administration. So that, for those of you out there who don't know what that is, that tells you a lot. Academic administration. So in other words, she crawled into a freaking politically biased bubble In 1998, she became the founding executive director of the CARE Center for Human Rights Policies at the Harvard Kennedy School, where we heard that before. And I won't bore you with the rest of it, but there's a couple little snippets in here. Let's see. Later, she served as the first Anna Lindh Professor of Practice of Global Leadership and Public Policy until 2009. She was a senior advisor to Senator Barack Hussein Obama until March 2008, when she resigned from his presidential campaign after apologizing for referring to then Senator Hillary Clinton as a monster during an interview. So interesting.
She was being kind.
Well, it's kind of funny because this monster referred to Hillary Clinton as a monster, which I thought was rather interesting.
Well,
anyway.
you know, girls are like that. You've known this as far back as high school. You know, the cat fighting that goes on between cliques and so forth. Just a programming question here. Can you read those screen caps that I sent? Because I can't read them off of my phone. It's too small. Do you have the ability to read that or no?
I can read. If that's what you're asking. I'm smart. I'm smart. I can do things.
No, I'm not dumb like they say.
How could you not? How could you not?
It's so small, and for some reason, the screen caps won't expand enough for me to read them.
So you basically want me to read the outline of the history of the United States involvement in color revolutions.
Yeah, I thought it'd be good for people to know because it's a term that most people don't know. I've only known for a few years myself. And this is what we do. This is what groups like USAID, this is what the CIA, the State Department does. When they want their guy in power.
Yeah, and this has to do with the reason I read a little bit about the young lady.
Power. Yeah,
because I can't even look at her face.
Yeah, she's in
disgusting.
Hungary. Laying the foundation for one of these. Yeah.
Well, she wants to send, if any, you guys need to know out there, she wants to send millions, if not billions, of our American dollars to Budapest. Okay. First of all, stay out of Budapest, but she wants to send them money so they can change their culture to make it look more like ours. However, there's nothing wrong with our culture. There's something wrong with a fraction of our culture. And that fraction, specifically LGBTQ, ABC 1, 2, 3, she wants to take our money and train them to be woke. That's basically in a nutshell. You could probably do 2 hours just on this witch. Anyway.
And along with that, it's aside from the ideology, she wants unrest. That is the whole point.
Well, she's a Soros cultist also.
Of spinning these people up,
Well, they want a world government. They want a government that controls the entire world. You know, they're having a conference right now, a world government conference.
Oh, great.
It's kind of an oxymoron because there's really no such thing as a world government.
Right.
So how could they be having a world government conference with that Charles Schwab guy? What's his name?
Yeah, von Schmuck.
You
want nothing and like it?
You know what he was talking about today? He was talking about the black swan that's coming. Maybe, it's funny how they talk about these things and then they happen.
Yeah. No doubt.
It's like it's pretty weird.
Well, I'll try to read this and use as little monotone as possible, so as not to get boring. Okay, and I'll reach for water like Marco Rubio if I need it, although nobody will be able to see. So the United States has been involved in several color revolutions around the world in recent decades, with varying degrees of direct and indirect involvement, which sounds like an operational thing to me. A color revolution is a nonviolent popular movement that seeks to overthrow an authoritarian regime and establish a democratic government. I have problems with that sentence right there. The term color revolution refers to the use of a particular color as a symbol of the movement, such as Orange Revolution or in Ukraine or Rose Revolution in Georgia. Here's an outline of the United States involvement in color revolutions. So the first one, Serbia. In 2000, the United States was involved with the overthrow of Serbian leader Slobodan Milosevic, who was accused of war crimes and crimes against humanity. The United States provided support to opposition groups and funded non-governmental organizations that were critical of the regime. It's almost sounding vaguely familiar. The popular movement was known as the Bulldozer Revolution, and was symbolized by the color yellow, hence color revolution. Georgia, 2003, the United States was involved in an overthrow of Georgian leader Edward. Yeah, you're going to make me say this. Shevardnadze.
Shevardnadze. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I was pretty close.
That was pretty good.
Yeah. Who was accused of electoral fraud and corruption. The United States provided support to opposition groups and funded non-governmental organizations that were critical of the regime. The popular movement was known as the Rose Revolution and was symbolized by the color pink. You're starting to see a theme here. Ukraine, 2004. The United States was involved in an overthrow of Ukrainian leader Viktor
Yanukovych.
Yeah, Yanukovych. Thank you. All right. Who was
I
accused
think he's
of
a two-timer.
I don't know. You got to ask his wife about that. who was accused of electoral fraud and corruption. The United States provided support to opposition groups and funded non-governmental organizations that were critical of the regime. The popular movement was known as Orange Revolution and was symbolized by the color orange, as you could have guessed. What else we got here? Well, I'm going to jump to Iran. In 2009, the United States was indirectly involved in the Green Movement, and not the one that you're thinking of, a popular movement that emerged from the disputed presidential election in Iran, or Iran, however you want to pronounce it. The United States expressed support for the movement and provided assistance to, here it goes, non-governmental organizations that were crucial of the regime. The popular movement was known as the Green Revolution, as symbolized by the color green. 2010 to 2011, Arab Spring. The United States was indirectly involved in several popular movements that emerged during the Arab Spring, which sought to overthrow authoritarian regimes in the Middle East and North Africa. The United States expressed support for the movements and provided assistance to non-governmental organizations that were crucial of the regimes. The movements were not associated with any particular color. In all of these cases, the United States was involved in supporting popular movements that sought to overthrow authoritarian governments, regimes, and establish democratic governments. The extent of the U.S. involvement varied from direct support to indirect assistance through non-governmental organizations. The United States involvement in color revolutions has been controversial, with critics accusing the U.S. of interfering in the international affairs of other countries and promoting regime change for geopolitical reasons. Well, how about that?
Yeah, wait a minute. That can't be the last one in the list. There must be another one following the Arab Spring.
No, that was the final. That
really?
Yeah, on that particular list.
Why wouldn't they put the Maidan Revolution in 2014 in Ukraine, which leads us directly to today?
Well, that's because that was a dramatic pause just for you to be able to bring it up.
Yeah. By the way, Yanukovych, they ousted him twice. I think he was a little more friendly to Russia, which they didn't like. So they got rid of him in 2004. I think he was prime minister. Then he got elected president in 2010 or something.
Hey, listen, it's a good thing we're not nation building here.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. It's, and it's people like this using their NGOs and funding, dissident journalists. I mean, imagine, look at what the journalists in America do, the CNN and the MSNBC. They're destroying the country. I mean, they may as well be getting paid by China or some belligerent source.
Well, the symbolism, the correlation to today, to Antifa, to the Black Lives Matter movement, to the press, non-governmental agencies getting paid from the government. There's no, if our government has been doing this, in which they have for many, many years, outside of the United States, they're doing it inside the United States.
Well, they have been. They did it with with this last election.
Yes, they did it with Trump. With the Black Lives Matter, and the Antifa, when that came out, I was telling people, don't buy into this. This is a color revolution being funded by bad people. And they looked at me like, oh, you're some bigot racist. I said, yeah, that may be so, but you're an idiot.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's facts and there's everything else,
Yeah. Anyway, getting back to Samantha Powers, the reason we're bringing this up is keep an eye on Hungary, because they hate Hungary because the guy's a nationalist. He wants to do, Orban wants to do what's best for Hungary. He wants to keep the border strong. He doesn't want all of this NATO stupidity going on. So let's see what happens there.
Yeah, it's something to watch. There's so much going on, and if this podcast seemed a little spotty, it was because we're trying to tie everything into the fact that there's a distraction over here, there's a distraction over here, something real took place over here, but that's a distraction from this over here. This is an actual operation, the entire thing.
Yeah,
strategic operation, and the people
we're right in the middle of it.
Well, these poor people in East Palestine, they don't give a rat's behind about Ukraine or anywhere else right now. Maybe they will in a month again, but right now they're just looking to get back into their houses and stay alive. Wait till the cancer cluster hits them in 15 or 20 years. Who's going to pay for that?
Yes, dial. What are those? You see those.
Yeah. Were you in the army at Camp Lejeune?
Call the law offices of. Joe, you should know a good name. You're familiar.
Rabinowitz.
There we go.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan. So anyway, I think we kind of wrapped up a big ball of crap here tonight, and that's the way it goes. Sometimes we're funny, and sometimes we got to get serious. So,
let's call this one, boys. Good night. I'll see you all next time.
All righty. Good night from Central Florida.
Good night, folks.